Good morning, dear beloved friend. The first light of dawn is quietly stretching across the horizon, and the world is still clothed in silence. The air is cool, the streets are hushed, and the earth seems to pause as if waiting for something sacred to unfold. This is not just another morning. It is the most holy moment of the day, the thin space between night and light, when heaven leans close and the heart of God is near. Perhaps you woke up today carrying a weight you did not choose. Maybe you opened your eyes long before sunrise because sleep was interrupted by fear or grief. I think of a woman who once shared her story. She lost her job unexpectedly. Her bills piled up, and her nights were filled with the sound of her own anxious thoughts. She would lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if God had forgotten her. On one of those sleepless mornings, at 3 o'clock, she whispered the simplest words, not knowing if anyone heard. "Help me." That fragile prayer, born from desperation, became the seed of her turning point. She later described how, in that moment of brokenness, she felt a calm presence wrap around her, as if unseen hands were holding her. Nothing in her circumstances changed instantly, but something inside her shifted. Fear began to loosen its grip, and hope began to flicker. Maybe you know that feeling, the pain of loss, the uncertainty of tomorrow, the ache of unanswered questions. These are the shadows that follow us into the early hours of the morning. Yet it is in those very hours that God whispers loudest, while the world sleeps. Heaven watches, while darkness lingers. Light is preparing to rise. The morning is more than a time on the clock. It is a sacred threshold, a place where endings meet beginnings, where human weakness meets divine strength. To step into morning prayer is not just a ritual. It is entering into a conversation with the one who created the sunrise itself. It is choosing to believe that your story is not finished, that your pain is not wasted, that your voice matters to the God who bends down to listen. Faith does not erase suffering, but it transforms the way we carry it. When you pray, you are not throwing words into the empty air. You are opening a door, and on the other side stands a Father who is attentive, powerful, and deeply loving. Every whisper of surrender, every cry of help, every declaration of trust is recorded in heaven and responded to in ways often unseen, but always real. This journey we are about to begin together is not just about words. It is about transformation. Over the next 24 chapters, we will walk slowly through the many seasons of the soul, from brokenness to surrender, from warfare to healing, from silence to renewal, from waiting to victory. Each chapter has been crafted to meet you where you are and lead you closer to the heart of God. You may begin in weakness, but you will rise in strength. You may feel forgotten, but you will discover you are chosen. You may wrestle with fear, but you will learn the language of faith. So as the dawn breaks and the first rays of sunlight touch your window, take this as an invitation. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have the right words. You only need a willing heart. This is your moment to pause, to breathe, to allow the stillness of the morning to become a sanctuary. Imagine that the rising sun is a symbol of your rising hope. Imagine that every breath you take is evidence that God has not finished with you yet. Dear beloved friend, open your heart now. Lay down the burdens you carried through the night. Let go of the fear that chased you into this morning. Prepare yourself to step into a sacred dialogue with the one who knows you fully and loves you completely. The prayers that follow are not distant or abstract. They are a pathway, a rhythm, a way of aligning your life with the presence of God. Let us begin this journey together. The altar of the morning is waiting. The heavens are open. Your soul is ready, and the God of dawn is listening. Dear Heavenly Father, in the stillness of this early morning, I come before you with an open heart, aware of how much I need you. The world is quiet, yet within me there is noise. The clutter of thoughts, the weight of yesterday, the uncertainties of tomorrow. I bring them all to you without pretense, because you see me as I am, and you know what I carry. I begin this day not with confidence in my own strength, but with trust in your presence, because I cannot walk forward without your guiding hand. I wake with the knowledge that life often feels overwhelming. Sometimes I rise with heaviness before the sun has even touched the sky. Yet I remember that your word says you make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters, and you restore my soul. I ask you now to quiet the storm inside me. Let your peace come like the soft light of dawn, steady and gentle, touching every hidden corner of my mind. Where fear lingers, let faith rise. Where shame whispers, let grace speak louder. Where sorrow weighs me down, let hope begin to lift me. Father, I confess that I cannot carry the burdens of this life on my own. Too often I have tried, and too often I have stumbled. This morning I surrender my striving, my endless attempts to fix, to control, to figure everything out. I lay it all at your feet. Teach me the beauty of surrender, not as defeat, but as freedom. Teach me that in releasing what I cannot hold, I discover that you have always held me. Lift off the weight of anxiety and restless fear. Replace it with assurance that you are faithful, that you have not forgotten me, and that even now you are working all things together for good. I declare this day belongs to you. This day is not ruled by chance, nor by the chaos of circumstances, but by your steady hand. As the morning sun pushes away the shadows, push away the shadows within me. Let this first hour of my day be the doorway to hope. Anchor my soul not in what I see, but in what you promise. You are my shepherd, and because you are with me, I lack nothing. Even when I feel the lack, even when I see what is missing, I speak faith that you are my provider. Even when I cannot see the path clearly, I believe you are leading me. Father, awaken my spirit to hear your whisper. The world will soon rush in with demands, with voices pulling me in every direction. But right now, I want to be still. Teach me to notice you in this stillness. Let the quiet remind me I am not abandoned. Heaven is near. Align my heart with your truth, so when I step into the noise of the day, I do not lose the peace I have found here. Let this time with you be the seed of strength that grows throughout my hours. Plant courage in me, water it with grace, and let it bear fruit in kindness, patience, and endurance. I pray for courage to face what is uncertain. I pray for gentleness when I am provoked, I pray for patience when I am delayed. I pray for wisdom when I must decide. And above all, I pray for love to overflow in me. Not a shallow love that fades, but a love rooted in the knowledge of how deeply I am loved by you. Let my first thoughts today not be consumed with fear or worry, but with gratitude that I am alive, that I am yours, and that nothing can separate me from your love. Dear Heavenly Father, take this morning as an offering. Take my voice, my thoughts, my steps. Let my words bring life, my eyes compassion, my heart tenderness. Keep me near when I am tempted to wander. Remind me throughout the day of this moment, when the world was still and I remembered that you are God and I am your child. Let this awareness remain steady, guiding me back whenever I drift. I long for your presence not just here, but in every moment, in every place I go. Even now as I breathe in this morning air, I sense your presence like a gentle wind of hope. I see the sunrise as your reminder that mercy is new, and no shadow can silence light. Let sunlight remind me you are with me, and you love me. Let my heartbeat remind me that I live for purpose, and my story rests in your hands. I do not rise alone. I rise with heaven beside me. Let this prayer awaken me. Where weakness meets strength, silence turns to song, and my day begins in faith. Here I stand at a new day, weak yet willing, small yet known by the one who made the stars. I lift my eyes to the light and my heart to you. Let this be the beginning of a day written not by fear, but by faith, not by anxiety, but by trust, not by loneliness, but by love. Hold me close, dear Father, and guide me as I step into this day. This is my prayer, my need, my surrender, my hope. Father, as the new day stretches before me, I carry forward the surrender of yesterday's prayer into a deeper honesty this morning. The night has passed, yet its shadows still cling. And though the sun rises, I find that some corners of my heart remain heavy. I will not pretend that everything within me is settled. I will not hide what still aches, because you are the Father who receives truth, not performance. Yesterday I spoke of laying down burdens, and today I bring you the ones that remain, the ones that press more deeply, the ones that wake me before dawn and whisper doubts when the world is quiet. Father, you know the fears that meet me when I wake. They are the questions that press against my mind before I rise. Will I be enough for what is waiting? Will the weight I carry crush me before the day is through? I confess to you these hidden thoughts. I confess how my heart wavers between faith and fear. I confess the words I spoke yesterday that I wish I could take back, the choices I made in haste, the doubts that whispered louder than truth. I do not come to you polished. I come as I am, with trembling honesty, because I know you are patient enough to hear me as I really am. Father, I do not want to hide from you. If my heart is fractured, I will bring each broken piece. If my mind is restless, I will open every thought to your light. If my soul feels distant, I will admit my longing to be closer. You are not repelled by weakness. You are drawn to it. You do not despise my cry in the dark. You bend near to listen, and so this morning I speak not only the polished words of devotion, but the raw words of my reality. I admit that sometimes I doubt whether you will answer. I admit that sometimes I fear silence more than anything. Yet even in admitting this, I find relief, because my honesty becomes the place where you meet me. Father, cleanse me from the inside out. Wash my thoughts that replay old failures. Wash my memories that still sting with regret. Wash my conscience that feels stained by yesterday's choices. Create in me a heart that is sincere, not divided. Renew in me a spirit that is steady, not shaken by every passing wind. Let my repentance be more than words. Let it be the opening of my soul to your transforming grace. Where I feel stained, cover me in mercy. Where I feel accused, silence the voice that seeks to define me by my past. Teach me that my questions are not stronger than the light of your truth. Father, hear my cry as I lift to you the hidden corners of my life. Hear the words I cannot form into sentences. Hear the sighs too deep for language. Hear the silent tears that never reach another's eyes. Gather them all and hold them close, for nothing escapes your notice. The cry in the dark may sound small, but in your presence it becomes a song that heaven records. Teach me that my weakness is not a wall, but a doorway, and through it I find you waiting. Teach me that honesty does not drive you away, but draws you nearer. This morning I ask for courage not to conceal, but to reveal. Give me the humility to admit where I am frail, and the faith to believe that you will meet me there. Strip away the layers of pride that keep me from being honest. Remove the masks I wear for others, and even for myself. Let my soul breathe in authenticity, for you desire truth in the deepest places. Let my words be real, my prayers unpolished, my surrender genuine. Meet me not at the surface, but at the core of who I am, where no one else can see but you. Father, I lift up not only my own heart, but also the brokenness of those I love. I bring before you the friend who hides pain, the family member with secrets, the neighbor who seems strong yet is crumbling. I cry out for them as I cry out for myself. Let your mercy meet them where words fail. Let your light pierce their hidden nights. Let your grace carry them when their strength is gone. Make my prayer a bridge between their silence and your healing presence. Where they cannot lift their own voice, let mine be lifted for them. Father, this day I choose to begin not with pretense, but with honesty. I choose to meet you with truth rather than with carefully crafted appearances. I choose to believe that you are more honored by my weakness offered than by strength I do not have. I choose to trust that when I empty my heart before you, you will not leave me hollow, but will fill me with what I need. So I stand here, raw yet received, flawed yet forgiven, resting quietly in your presence. I trust that even my most fragile cry has value, because it reaches your heart, and I believe that the God who hears me in the dark will walk with me into the light of this new day. Father, even now as I sit in the quiet of this morning, still aching from what I confessed yesterday, I sense something shifting. There is a subtle warmth in the air, a whisper that hope is not as far as it once felt. I do not claim full healing yet, but I feel the trace of something gentle returning. Perhaps it is the memory of your faithfulness, rising slowly through the fog of fatigue. Perhaps it is the flicker of hope that dares to believe this day might carry something redemptive wherever it begins. Father, let it rise. Father, I remember now not by accident, but by intention. I reach back into my own story and search for the moments when you proved yourself faithful. I call to mind the times when you sustained me through storms I thought would shatter me. I remember mornings when I awoke with no strength and somehow made it through the day. I remember tears that once burned, but have long since dried, because healing followed. These memories are not nostalgia. They are anchors. They steady my soul when today feels uncertain. Father, let these memories become more than passing thoughts. Let them rise like incense and settle deep within me. Let them soften the sharp edges of fear and push back the weight of discouragement. Remind me who you have always been so I can trust who you still are. Remind me how you turned silence into songs and emptiness into abundance. Let each recollection be a seed of renewed faith, planted not in fantasy, but in sacred history. You have walked with me before. Surely you will not stop walking with me now. Father, help me also to remember not just the outcomes, but the presence. Even when things did not change as I prayed, you were still near. Even when the breakthrough did not come, the comfort did. You did not always pull me from the fire, but you stood in it with me. That memory carries weight. It tells me that your love is not defined by escape, but by endurance. You are not a distant rescuer who waits at the end of the struggle. You are the companion who walks with me through every uncertainty. This morning, I choose to remember. I choose to recall your mercy rather than rehearse my fears. I choose to relive the truth instead of recycling my pain. I choose to let memory become a spiritual discipline, not just an emotional accident. I recall how you whispered peace into my racing thoughts. I recall how you turned what looked like dead ends into beginnings. I remember how you used even my failure to build something stronger. These memories tell of grace still unfolding. So, Father, let today be shaped by what I know, not just by what I feel. Let the history of our relationship inform my hope for this day. Let the memory of deliverance create a posture of expectation. Let every past grace become present strength. When doubts rise again, and they will, remind me to answer them not with arguments, but with remembrance. Let my defense be testimony. Let my courage be rooted in the record of your goodness. You are the same yesterday, today, forever, and I need that truth again. Father, as I walk into this day, let remembrance become my rhythm. Let it be the breath between tasks, the pause before decisions, the stillness amid noise. Let memory be my mentor, not reminding me of your past interventions, but forming my present identity. I am not the sum of my failures or the weight of my worries. I am the beloved child you have carried through countless valleys. Teach me to remember. Teach me to speak as someone who has seen the goodness of God firsthand, and cannot forget it. And so I take one more breath, not just a breath of oxygen, but a breath of hope. I breathe in memory, breathe out the lie that good is gone. I let these rhythms carry me. I let them shape my posture as I rise, not with frantic striving, but with sacred remembering. For every unknown today holds. There is a known behind me, your story with me, unfolding still. Father, I think of those who walk beside me in this life, the ones whose sacred stories I forget. Remind me of their journeys too. Remind me of how you have worked through their pain, their joy, their waiting. Let me become a witness not to my own story, but to the testimonies unfolding all around me. In remembering, make me more compassionate. In remembering, make me more generous with grace. Let the legacy of your faithfulness extend beyond my personal comfort into my community's healing. Father, let the morning sun remind me that every day begins with a return to light, a return to grace, a return to the truth that you have not forgotten me. As light spills through my window, let it pour into the darker corners of my memory, illuminating not only what happened, but what you redeemed through it. Help me carry these memories like lanterns through the hours ahead. Let them glow with assurance and guide my way. Let today hold grace. Father, after walking through the tender echoes of remembering, my soul now steps into the quiet beyond memory, where nothing needs to be solved, only received. There is a stillness here, not silent but alive, where I can feel you in the breath that slows and the tension that softens. I have no urgent words, just this ache for you to be near in a way that does not demand noise or motion. This moment is not empty. Father, it holds the weight of peace settling into my bones, not with fanfare, but with quiet certainty. It is as if your presence hovers just beyond the veil of thought, waiting for me to stop striving and simply notice. There is no lesson here to master, no achievement to chase, only the sacred invitation to be. I have spent too many mornings rushing past the hush of dawn, letting my thoughts outrun my breath, but now I choose to remain here a while longer, to listen to what the stillness might say. It reminds me that rest is not a luxury, but a form of worship. And in this rest, I am not failing. I am aligning. I am realigning with the truth that I am loved even in my quiet. You are not only the God of great miracles, but the God of soft arrivals. You come like dew upon the grass, gentle and unnoticed, but necessary. You come not to impress, but to restore. In the hush of this hour, you bring back the parts of me scattered by yesterday as burdens. You pull me back into wholeness, not by force, but by the calm that steadies everything. Even when I do not know how to pray, this stillness prays for me. It carries what my words cannot hold. It stretches beyond what my mind can reach. And I believe you receive it with delight, not for eloquence, but for honesty. This is what I offer you now, not resolution, but reverence. Not declarations, but presence. Let this stillness be the sanctuary where I remember who I am before the world tries to define me again. Let it be the shelter where I return when the storm begins to build outside. You are my calm, not because the world quiets, but because you do not change. Your love holds steady. Your peace is not the absence of struggle, but the breath I find within it. Teach me how to carry this stillness, not just in mornings, but into meetings, into conflict, into the restless moments where I want to run. Remind me that I am allowed to return here at any time, not because I have earned it, but because you are always making space for me. You are not hurried. You do not push. You welcome me back every time, unchanged by my delay. There is something holy in letting go of the need to be impressive, to be strong, to be certain. You are not impressed by what I achieve. You are moved by what I surrender. In this stillness, I let go of my need to understand everything. I make peace with mystery. I trust that you are working even when I cannot see the movement. Father, this stillness teaches me that my value does not rise or fall with how much I accomplish. I do not have to prove anything to belong to you. You have already called me yours, not when I performed, but when I was still. You met me in the ache and the doubt and the raw honesty that comes when the world is quiet. I feel your nearness in the quiet breath that rises and falls. I sense your kindness in the way my shoulders begin to relax. There is no fear here, only presence. No pressure, only grace. Let this stillness rewire the pace of my heart. Let it slow me down to the rhythm of love. Let it reset the tempo of my thoughts, so that peace becomes my default, not panic. And when I walk into the noise of the day, let this be the foundation beneath my steps. Let this quiet be the river I draw from when the desert of exhaustion begins to creep in. Let it be the reminder that I can pause, I can breathe, I can return. You will meet me each time, not with shame, but with open arms. You are not asking me to be perfect, just present. And in this stillness, I am reminded that presence is enough. It is where intimacy begins. It is where peace is planted. It is where love takes root and begins to grow. Not in the rush, but in the rest. So I sit here, Father, not to escape, but to abide, not to withdraw, but to realign. This moment is not wasted, it is sacred. I rise slowly. Father, not to leave this stillness behind, but to carry it with me into the questions, into the waiting, into the unexpected turns that will meet me today. I carry this moment like a lamp, soft but steady, reminding me I am not alone. You are in the quiet and in the chaos, in the stillness and in the storm. And because of that, I will not rush past your peace. I will return here as often as I need to. This stillness is not the absence of you. It is the fullness of you, finally felt. So here I remain a little longer, breathing in this sacred pause. I let it hold me without asking why. I let it shape me without demanding an answer. Because sometimes the most honest prayer is the one that whispers, I am still here. I still trust you. I still believe you are near. Father, as I rise from the stillness where you met me without words, I find myself carrying a fragile courage, one not built from strength, but from the willingness to feel. The quiet has not erased the pain, but it has thinned the fog around my heart, just enough for light to slip in. And with that light comes something tender and terrifying. Emotion waking up again. Grief, joy, fear, hope all stirring like leaves after a long winter, unsure but alive. Somewhere in the age of reopening, I realize how much I have learned to flinch away from feeling, not just sorrow, but wonder, not just heartbreak, but hope, as if my heart, once broken, decided that safety was in silence and numbness. But you, Father, are not afraid of my emotions. You are not overwhelmed by the weight I carry or ashamed of the tears I have tried so hard to hide. You meet me in every corner of my heart, even the ones I locked away. I do not need to perform healing. I do not need to pretend I have already moved on. I need only to be honest about the tremble in my voice when I try to speak the truth. Honest about the fear that still walks beside me. Honest about the joy I have buried, afraid it might vanish again. You welcome all of it. You never asked me to be a polished version of myself. You asked me to be present. And today, in this vulnerable beginning, I choose presence over perfection. Let my emotions not be enemies, but invitations. Let sorrow lead me to deeper compassion. Let anger point to boundaries that need protection. Let longing become the language that calls me closer to you. Let joy not feel foreign, but familiar, as if I have known it all along and only forgot how to hold it. Each feeling, when held in your hands, becomes part of a sacred conversation. I do not need to edit myself in your presence. I need only to exhale the truth. And so I breathe out disappointment, resentment, numbness, confusion. I breathe in permission to feel whatever arises. Without shame, the numbness served a purpose once. It shielded what I was not yet ready to carry. But today, with you beside me, I can begin to let it melt. I can dare to feel not just the ache, but also the sweetness. I can let tears fall without panic. I can let laughter surprise me. I can live awake instead of merely surviving. This is not about fixing everything today. It is about saying yes to the process, yes to the tender work of healing, yes to the risk of connection, yes to letting love be stronger than fear. I won't always get it right. I will still shut down sometimes. But I trust that you are not keeping score. You are holding space. And in that space, I am slowly becoming who you always saw in me. The one who feels deeply and lives bravely and loves without armor. Father, I do not want to miss the beauty because I am too afraid to feel the brokenness. I do not want to shut my eyes to the pain, and in doing so, miss the light that filters through the cracks. Teach me to sit with what stirs inside me without judgment. Show me how to walk gently with my own heart, and remind me that you are the safest place for it all. When I feel overwhelmed, help me remember that you are not. When I feel like too much, let me hear you say, I am not too much for you. Today I say yes to the holy H of being human. I say yes to the mystery of emotions as sacred messengers. I say yes to the rawness that healing requires. Because in every tear that falls, in every sigh that escapes, in every laugh that catches me by surprise, I am reminded that I am alive. And to be alive with you is to be held, not judged, to be felt, not fixed, to be loved, not abandoned. So I will not silence the beating of my heart. I will not edit the trembling in my voice. I will let my full self rise with the sun and speak honestly in your presence. I will walk into this day with feeling as my companion, not my enemy. And I will carry this truth with me, that the courage to feel again is not weakness. It is the quiet roar of resurrection. Even if the world moves too fast for feelings, I will let my soul move slowly. Even if others ask me to harden, I will soften. Even if grief lingers longer than expected, I will honor its presence. Because in every emotion, there is an echo of you, the God who weeps, the God who rejoices, the God who feels. And when words fail, may my silence still be prayer. When I cannot explain why I hurt or why I hope, may you receive my breath as enough. When all I can do is whisper, may you hear it as worship. You have never demanded eloquence. You have only desired honesty. So I bring you what I have, a soul waking up, a heart thawing, a life daring to be whole again. There is nothing small about this return to feeling. It is sacred rebellion against the numbness that tried to win. It is a resurrection of color after gray days. It is choosing to live, not just exist. And so I will not apologize for my emotions. I will bring them to you like offerings. I will trust that you know what to do with every part of me. I will not edit what you made beautiful. I will let you hold it all. Father, as I wake into this quiet moment, I carry with me the soft courage you stirred in me yesterday. My heart, still tender from learning how to feel again, now longs to notice what I used to overlook. And I sense you inviting me not into grand miracles or mountain-moving faith this morning, but into something smaller, quieter, perhaps even more sacred, the grace tucked into the ordinary. The kind of grace that hides in the folds of daily life, waiting for me to slow down and truly see. I used to think I needed thunder to believe you were near. I waited for flashes of lightning or undeniable signs. But now I am starting to wonder if your presence is actually more like dew resting on the grass there, but only seen by those who rise early and look closely. You are the whisper I miss when I rush. You are the comfort I pass by when I am too busy looking for drama. Father, open my eyes to the little things. Teach me to pay attention. Let me not miss you today because I was too focused on what felt spectacular. Sometimes I look at my life and wonder if it matters. The routines, the repetition, the invisible efforts, do you see them? Do you honor them? I want to believe that you do. That folding laundry with love is worship. That listening closely to someone who is hurting is holy. That making my bed or cooking a meal or smiling at a stranger are not just acts of survival but offerings. I want to live like everything matters, because it is all done before you. Because you are here not just in the sacred places, but in the mundane. Father, I invite you into the details, into the to-do list, the quiet moments between conversations, the pauses when no one is watching. I ask you to sanctify the ordinary. Let me feel your nearness when I pour my morning coffee. Let me whisper thanks when I hear a bird sing. Let my breath become prayer without me needing to speak. I do not need fireworks to believe you are close. I only need awareness. I only need to look. You are the God of mustard seeds. You said the kingdom starts small, hidden, even like yeast working through dough, like treasure buried in a field, like a child's simple faith. I do not want to overlook what you called holy. I do not want to chase the impressive and miss the important. I want to see the divine in my daily, to let every moment become a window into eternity, to find you not only in the big breakthroughs, but in the quiet consistency of your love. Today, Father, I walk slowly. I listen with care. I breathe with intention. I ask you to turn my ordinary steps into sacred ones. Remind me that I am not just passing time, I am participating in something eternal. The way I love, the way I show up, the way I choose kindness when no one sees all of it is held in your gaze. Nothing is wasted. Nothing small escapes your attention. Help me become a person who is impressed by goodness, not spectacle, by faithfulness, not noise, by tenderness, not performance. Help me become someone who recognizes heaven when it arrives wrapped in normal, someone who knows that a sunrise is enough of a miracle for one morning, that breath in my lungs is reason to give thanks, that a simple act of grace can ripple into forever. If I am looking for you in the wrong places, show me where to turn my head. If I have become blind to the gifts you give daily, open my hands again. If I have lost wonder for the ordinary, restore it gently. Teach me to worship not only in church or in songs, but in how I greet the day, how I treat the people in front of me, how I carry unseen things with love. I bring you today as it is, not polished, not perfect, just real. I bring you my morning routines and my work and my interruptions and my quiet. I bring you everything I once called insignificant, asking you to transform it with meaning. Make holy the hours I once rushed through. Let this day become an altar where the sacred and the simple meet. And as I go through it, may I find you not only in mountaintops, but in moments, in the smile of someone I love, in the breeze through the window, in the warmth of tea in my hands, in a sentence that makes me pause, in the silence that speaks louder than noise, in the faithful way you show up again and again, not needing applause, just wanting my attention. You are here. Father, you always have been. Help me live like it. Father, I come again this morning, carrying the quiet that lingered after yesterday is letting go. There is a stillness inside me that does not feel empty, but watchful, like the hush before a sunrise. From the space you carved in my soul, something new is rising, not answers, not certainty, but trust, and not the loud kind that declares everything will be fine. It is the quiet kind, born not of proof, but of presence. I do not see the whole path, but I am beginning to trust that you are in each unseen step. There are mornings when I wake up and everything feels the same worries, same weight, same unknowns. But today, something has shifted in the silence. It is not that my questions are gone. They still whisper in the back of my mind, but they are quieter now, like they too are learning to trust. You have not rushed me to clarity. You have waited with me in the fog. And now I am learning that waiting with you is not wasted time. It is sacred space. The mist may hide the horizon, but not your nearness. I used to think trust meant feeling brave, but today I realize trust sometimes looks like getting out of bed when I would rather stay curled up in fear. Trust is brushing my teeth, opening the curtains, stepping into the day, and saying, "I do not know where this leads, but I believe you are already there. I do not see what is ahead, but I will not walk alone. I do not feel strong, but I do not have to. You are the strength beneath every shaky step." Some days faith is a fire. Other days it is a flicker. Today it is a steady ember, quietly warming the cold parts of my soul. I do not need to understand how you are working. I only need to remember that you are, that even when my eyes cannot find the shape of hope, my heart can still rest in your character. You have been faithful before. You are faithful still. That is enough for me to breathe, to rise, to move again. I think of Abraham, leaving everything familiar without a map. I think of Ruth, clinging to Naomi without knowing what would come next. I think of Mary, saying yes to what she could not explain. None of them saw the whole story, but they walked anyway. They believed that you were writing something good, even when the page felt blank. And you still are. I remember now that every promise you give me is not just for the mountaintops, but for the valleys. Every word you whisper is not just for when I feel certain, but especially for when I do not. Trust is not about seeing more. It is about surrendering more. So I surrender my need to see the end before I begin. I surrender my grip on outcomes I cannot control. I surrender the illusion that I must know everything to be safe. I choose instead to rest in the mystery where you dwell. You are not a God who shouts from far away. You are a God who walks beside, who whispers peace in the middle of my panic. You steady me not by removing all risk, but by reminding me that you remain, that even if the ground shifts and the road curves, you do not change. I am anchored not in answers, but in you. So I will take the next step, whatever it is, with open hands. I will walk this day not because I have a plan, but because I have your presence. I will trust not because I understand, but because you do. And that is enough. You are enough. Let this be the rhythm of my heart today. Not striving, not proving, but trusting. And when the doubts return, and I know they will help me to return to this stillness. Help me to recall the moments you carried me before. Help me to notice the gentle ways you speak. Through morning light, through a stranger's kindness, through the calm that makes no sense. Help me to hold on, not to clarity, but to connection. I do not need all the details. I need only you. So as I move through this day, guide my eyes to see your fingerprints on the ordinary. Guide my ears to hear the assurance that has no words. Guide my heart to lean on the invisible foundation of your love. Let me be someone who trusts without demanding signs, who walks without demanding certainty, who believes without demanding control. Even if the answers do not come today, let trust come. Even if the road is not straight, let my soul be steady. Even if the skies are not clear, let your nearness be enough light for one more step. I will not wait until everything is fixed to begin trusting. I will trust in the middle, in the mess, in the mystery, because you are here, and that changes everything. I lift my heart in this quiet moment, not to ask for perfect clarity, but for persistent faith, not for instant solutions, but for enduring trust, not for the removal of every burden, but for the strength to carry what I must until you move the mountain or teach me to climb it. Let my soul remember that trusting you is not a risk, it is the most anchored place I can be. And when the noise of the day returns, help me return here, to this sacred silence where trust begins again. Father, you have taught me to trust in the stillness, and from that quiet place, something new begins to stir. It is not the loud joy of certainty or the flashing signs of arrival, but the gentle rise of wonder unforced, unplanned, like a bloom opening in the dark. Yesterday I trusted what I could not see. Today I begin to notice what I had forgotten to look for. Beauty that does not ask to be earned, grace that arrives without explanation, and the holy invitation to wonder again. I walk slowly through this morning, not to arrive somewhere fast, but to feel again. The colors seem brighter. The light falls gently through the window in a way I might have ignored yesterday. But now it feels like a message. You are here, not in a thunderclap, but in the warmth on my skin. The pause in my thoughts, the quiet sense that I am held by something bigger than me. Wonder has returned not with answers, but with awareness. I am learning that noticing is also a form of praise. There is so much I have missed. Father, rushing through my days trying to solve or succeed or survive. I have walked past 100 gifts without ever opening them, too distracted to receive. But you are patient. You wait not just in the depths of pain, but also in the softness of small things. And I want to return to that childlike heart again, not naive, but awake, not ignoring the H of life, but seeing through it, seeing you in it, seeing how you lace ordinary moments with extraordinary grace. I remember now that you created not just a world that works, but a world that sings, trees that dance in wind, oceans that whisper their own prayers, mountains that stand in silent testimony of your glory. And somehow, you placed that same design within me, a capacity not just to endure, but to marvel, to be moved, to feel wonder that leads not to possession, but to praise. Wonder is not always loud. Father, sometimes it is the soft gasp when I realize I am not alone. Sometimes it is the tears that come without words. Sometimes it is laughter that bubbles up in the middle of sorrow, uninvited and healing. I do not have to understand everything to celebrate something. I do not need the whole picture to see that even the smallest square of the tapestry is woven in love. You have not called me to be impressed by life, but to be present in it. To hold a flower and know it is enough for now. To watch a bird and remember that you care for me even more. To sit in stillness and let awe rise not because of anything spectacular, but because I have opened my eyes again. The veil of business has torn, and now I remember the sacred that lives in the simple. Even in my suffering, wonder finds a way. It is not a denial of pain, but a defiance of despair. It says, yes, this hurts. But still, there is beauty. Still, there is breath. Still, there is love. Still, there is you. Wonder keeps me from shrinking. It reminds me that life is more than survival, that my soul was made for more than solving problems, that I am not just a mind to reason or a body to labor, but a spirit designed to wonder and worship. Let today be full of that kind of vision. Not the kind that needs proof, but the kind that looks again and sees the divine fingerprints all over the ordinary. Let me be the kind of person who does not just pass through days, but drinks them in, who does not just count time, but touches it, who walks through the world as if every moment could speak, because you are always speaking. I do not want to miss it anymore. Father, I do not want to be so consumed with what is next that I miss what is now. Let me not walk past the miracle of breath, or the gift of kindness, or the holiness of a shared glance. You are in all of it. You do not need grand stages to show your presence. You slip into our lives in subtle ways. And wonder is the language that lets me hear you. So even if nothing remarkable happens today in the eyes of the world, let wonder remain in mine. Even if I do the same tasks, walk the same streets, speak the same words, let my heart stay new. Let me live not in repetition, but in revelation. Let the mundane become magnificent, because you are with me in every detail. Wonder is not weakness. It is worship. It is resistance against the numbness that tries to steal my soul. It is the choice to live awake, to be surprised, to smile without knowing why, to cry without hiding it, to dance even when no music plays. It is the declaration that life is still a gift. And you are still the giver. I receive it now with open hands and open eyes. And I whisper my thanks, not just with words, but with my willingness to see again. So guide my heart today to see with new eyes. Father, let me face the world not with fear, but with soft hope. Wake not just my body, but my wonder. Let light remind me that even after darkness, you rise. Let my life become a hymn of wonder returning. If I forget again, whisper gently and draw me back to wonder again. Father, coming out of the quiet awe of wonder, I find myself stepping into something slower still. The kind of peace that does not rush in with fanfare but tiptoes, almost unnoticed, into the rooms of my life. I used to think peace was a destination, prize awarded after I had solved all the chaos, but I see now it is more like a path soft, uneven, winding gently through my soul. You do not demand that I sprint toward peace. You invite me to walk it with you. Some days, I am impatient. I want healing to happen fast. I want clarity to arrive like lightning. I want my fears to vanish in a single prayer. But you never shame my longing. Instead, you slow me down. You speak not in thunder, but in whispers. You do not erase my pain, but you sit beside it until it loosens its grip. And in that waiting, peace grows not perfectly, but honestly, not all at once, but deeply. You know how hard it is for me to trust the slow work. I would rather skip to the ending, bypassing the in-between. But that is not where transformation lives. It lives in the small choices, the quiet releases. The morning I choose to breathe instead of fight, the night I cry and still say thank you. You do not rush me through these moments. You meet me in them, and you make them holy. Peace, I am learning, is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of steadiness. It is the calm in the middle of confusion, the rootedness that says, even here, I belong. You teach me that I do not have to understand everything to be okay. I do not need every question answered before I can rest. You are not asking for my perfection, only my presence. Only my willingness to take the next gentle step. And sometimes that step is simply to be still, to unclench my fists, to soften my voice, to look up instead of within. Peace does not come from figuring everything out. It comes from choosing not to carry it all alone. It comes from remembering that I am not the savior. I am the one being saved. I am the one you cradle in the middle of the storm, whispering that I am safe, even when nothing looks fixed. Let this be the way I walk today, not with a rushed heart, but with a willing one, not needing to control, but learning to cooperate, to listen, to linger, to be led. I do not need to prove anything to be loved. You are not keeping score. You are keeping me. So I return to this moment, and I breathe it in. The slow path to peace is not empty. It is full of you. Every pause is permission to feel. Every breath is an invitation to trust. Every slow step is still forward, still sacred, still held. Even in conflict, I can carry peace. Even in pain, I can choose gentleness. Even when I do not know what is next, I can be kind to myself, to others, to the world. I do not have to wait until life is easy to live it tenderly. You walk with me through this slow becoming, and that is enough. Peace is not passive. It is powerful. It does not avoid the fire. It walks through it without being consumed. It says no to panic and yes to presence. And today, I choose it. Even if I have to choose it again in an hour, even if it is shaky, even if it costs me my pride, I choose the way that leads me back to you. Father, after walking slowly on the path of peace, my heart now turns backward in gratitude. I realize that part of peace is remembering looking at where I have been and noticing how often you were there. Even when I did not see you, my story is marked not only by pain and confusion, but also by your fingerprints. Today, I want to remember, not to cling to the past, but to draw courage for the future. Memory is fragile. Sometimes it keeps my failures louder than my victories. Sometimes it replays my regrets more than my gratitude. But with you, remembering becomes healing. You help me sift through the weight of what was, not to drown me in shame, but to uncover the places where grace was hidden. Even in my darkest nights, there were embers of light I had forgotten until now. Even in the valleys I feared, you left reminders that I was never abandoned. Father, I want to remember how you carried me when I thought I could not stand. I want to remember the people you sent to hold me when I felt alone. I want to remember the mornings when sorrow slowly turned to song. These memories are not just nostalgia, they are testimony. They anchor me in the truth that what you did before, you can do again. What you began, you will finish. What felt broken beyond repair, you quietly mended. There is power in remembering. It steadies my heart when new storms rise. It silences the lies that say nothing will change. It reminds me that my life is not random, but woven. That you were working even when I could not trace you. That every step, even the missteps, can be redeemed in your love. Remembering is not weakness. It is strength. It is faith rehearsed through memory. I confess, Father, that sometimes I choose forgetfulness because it feels safer. If I do not remember, I do not have to face the H. But when I forget, I also miss the evidence of your faithfulness. Teach me to look back with honesty, to grieve what hurt, but also to celebrate what healed. Let memory be a sanctuary, not a prison. Let it be a place where I meet you again and again, as if the past is still whispering your name into my present. Help me to notice the smaller memories too, not only the big ones, the laughter that broke tension, the quiet strength I did not know I had, the breath I took when I thought I could not go on. Each of these is a reminder that you are not only the God of miracles, but also the God of moments. Nothing is wasted when remembered through your eyes. Nothing is too small to shape gratitude. Let remembering become my rhythm today. When fear rises, let memory answer. When doubt returns, let testimony speak. When I forget who I am, let the story of what you have done remind me who I belong to. You have walked with me through too much for me to believe you will stop now. You have written too many chapters for me to think the story ends here. You are the author, and remembering helps me read again the words of grace written across my life. Father, let memory not only steady me but also soften me. Let it make me compassionate toward others who are still in their valleys. Let it keep me humble, knowing I was carried. Let it spark hope when I share with someone who cannot yet see their way through. What I remember is not mine to keep, it is meant to be told, passed on, a reminder to others that they are not alone either. So I end this prayer not by clinging to memory, by carrying it forward into the choices I make today, into the words I speak, into the way I love. I carry remembrance like a lantern in my hand, not to live in the past, but to light the way in the present. And if tomorrow feels uncertain, I will remember again. I will remember that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. I will remember that peace is not only found in moving forward, but in looking back and seeing that I was never forsaken. This is the power of remembering. Father, it is the bridge between yesterday's grace and tomorrow's hope. It is the song that rises when silence threatens. It is the anchor that holds me steady when everything shifts. Let me walk today with memory alive in me, not as weight but as witness. Let it remind me who you are. Let it remind me who I am. Let it remind me that nothing is wasted in your hands. Father, remembering all the ways you have carried me draws me into a deeper place today, the place of learning how to be held. Memory reminds me of your faithfulness, but my heart still wrestles with surrender. It is not always easy to let myself rest, to stop striving, to stop reaching for control. Yet you keep inviting me, not only to recall your care, but to lean fully into it. To let myself be held is the lesson of trust, and I confess that I am still learning it slowly, piece by piece. I am used to carrying burdens. Father, I clutch them tightly as if my grip will save me. I fear that if I let go, everything will fall apart. But in that clenched grip, my strength runs dry. You are not asking me to be strong enough. You are asking me to release. to let my head fall against your shoulder, to allow myself to rest in the arms that will not fail. This is not weakness, it is worship. It is the boldness of saying, I cannot, but you can. Being held is uncomfortable for me because it requires me to be still. It requires me to admit my need. It asks me to accept love I did not earn. Yet this is exactly what you long to give. You are not burdened by my weight. You are not wary of my neediness. You are not impatient when I lean heavily upon you. Instead, you delight in being my refuge. You are the steady arms that never withdraw. You are the safe place where fear dissolves into peace. I think of a child, father, falling asleep in the arms of someone they trust. They do not analyze whether the arms are strong enough. They do not rehearse backup plans. They simply rest. That is the invitation you extend to me. To remember that I am not too heavy. To believe that I am not too broken. To know that I am not too much for you. You are able to carry me completely, and you want to. Teach me to practice this today, even in small ways. When I feel the urge to fix everything, remind me to pause and lean into you. When I start to panic, whisper that I am already held. When I grow tired, remind me that my exhaustion is not a failure, but a signal that I can rest in you. Let me learn that surrender is not defeat. It is the place where true strength is born, because it comes from you and not from me. Father, help me unlearn the lies that tell me I must be self-sufficient. Help me unlearn the pride that insists on carrying what was never mine to carry. Help me unlearn the fear that believes I will be dropped. Replace these lies with truth, the truth that you uphold the universe and still make space for me. The truth that your grip never loosens. The truth that my security is not in my performance, but in your promise. I do not want to miss the intimacy of being held, because I was too busy proving myself. I do not want to miss the gift of rest, because I was obsessed with results. I do not want to miss the comfort of your presence, because I was too distracted with my own effort. Teach me to stay still long enough to feel your heartbeat. Teach me to rest long enough to remember that love does not demand achievement. Teach me to breathe deeply enough to sense that I am safe. There will still be storms, but I will not face them alone. There will still be valleys, but I will not walk them unsupported. There will still be wounds, but I will not carry them unhealed, because being held by you changes the way I move through everything else. It shifts my focus from my frailty to your faithfulness. It changes the story from one of fear to one of belonging. It reminds me that no matter how far I wander, I will always find my way back into your arms. So let me step into today with the courage to let go. Let me walk into uncertainty knowing that I do not walk uncarried. Let me rest into the truth that even if I stumble, I fall into grace. Let my life speak not only of endurance, but also of embrace. For I am not only called to run the race, but also to be held by the one who runs beside me, who lifts me, who never leaves. This is what I am learning. Father, that strength is not in holding on tightly, but in allowing myself to be held. That faith is not only in doing, but also in resting. That peace is not only in solving, but in surrendering. Let this lesson sink deep into my bones today. Let me remember it when the day grows heavy. Let me carry it not as duty, but as delight. To be held by you is the greatest gift, and I choose to receive it. Father, after learning to be held in your steady arms, my heart is confronted with the next invitation, letting go of what hurts. To be held means I am safe enough to release, yet my hands resist. I cling to wounds as if they define me. I rehearse old stories as if they are the only truth. But you whisper that healing begins not by holding tighter, but by opening my grip. You remind me that pain carried too long becomes chains, and chains are not what you designed for me. Father, you see the places in me that are raw. You know the memories that replay when I lie awake at night. You know the words spoken over me that cut deep, the disappointments that weigh me down, the betrayals that left me guarded. I have carried them so long that I sometimes mistake them for part of who I am. But they are not me. They are wounds. And wounds are not my identity. My true name is beloved, not broken. My true story is redemption, not ruin. Still, letting go is not easy. It feels like losing control, like stepping into emptiness. Part of me fears that if I release the hurt, I will forget the lessons. Part of me fears that if I forgive, I will be hurt again. But you remind me that forgiveness is not erasing the past. It is releasing its grip. It is placing the burden into hands stronger than mine. It is trusting that you will bring justice in your way, healing in your time, peace in your presence. Teach me, Father, how to let go gently, not all at once in forced triumph, but piece by piece. As my heart is ready, let me release the anger I clutch, the bitterness I hide, the disappointment I nurse. Show me how to place them into your open palms. Knowing you do not shame me for carrying them too long, you simply invite me to be free. You whisper that my shoulders were not made for this weight, but yours were. You offer exchange, ashes for beauty, heaviness for praise, sorrow for joy. I long for that freedom, Father, but I confess my grip is stubborn. I confess that sometimes the pain feels safer than the unknown without it. Yet you are patient with me. You do not force release. You wait with compassion until I am ready to unclench my fists, and each time I dare to loosen my hold, I feel the smallest breath of peace slip in. It grows slowly, but it is real. It is proof that surrender heals. Help me see that letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing not to be chained. It is remembering without being ruled. It is feeling the pain, but refusing to let it be the only song I sing. It is opening space for new melodies of hope to rise. I want to sing again. Father, I want to laugh without hesitation. I want to live without rehearsing old wounds. Letting go is the path to that life, and I want to walk it with you. Remind me that even Jesus wept. Even he was betrayed. Even he carried sorrow. Yet he also released it into your will. He chose not to let bitterness grow. He chose love over revenge, surrender over resistance, trust over fear. Let his way be my way. Let his strength be mine. Let his release become the pattern for my own healing. Father, today I place before you the hurts I have named and the ones I cannot yet speak. I place before you the disappointments that still sting, the fears that still echo, the grief that still lingers. I do not pretend they are gone, but I choose to let them rest in your hands instead of mine. Teach me to walk lighter, freer, softer. Teach me to forgive, not because the wound was small, but because your love is greater. Teach me to let go, not because the pain was meaningless, but because you can bring meaning out of it. This is what I want, Father, to live unchained, to wake up not replaying yesterday's hurt, but receiving today's mercy, to lay down at night not weighed by resentment, but covered in peace, to walk through the world not guarded by walls, but guided love. This is what letting go makes possible. And though I cannot do it perfectly, I can begin. I can open one finger at a time. I can breathe out one hurt at a time. I can trust you to catch every piece I release. So let this day be marked by release. Let this morning begin with lighter hands. Let my story shift from carrying what crushed me to receiving what heals me. Let me remember that letting go is not loss, it is gain. It is the doorway into freedom, the beginning of joy, the gift of peace. And if tomorrow I find myself clutching again, remind me with gentleness that your arms are still open, ready to take what I cannot carry. I will learn, slowly, to let go of what hurts, because in letting go, I find you. Father, after releasing the hurts I clutched for so long, I find myself entering a space I did not expect, the stillness after surrender. Letting go has left my hands empty, and in the emptiness there is a quiet I once feared. Yet now I begin to see that this quiet is not absence, but presence. It is the resting ground where peace grows, the soft soil where new seeds can take root. I once thought surrender would end in silence too heavy to bear, but in truth, it has opened the doorway into stillness that heals. Father, this stillness feels different than the noise I carried. It is not crowded by endless thoughts or consumed by the weight of yesterday. It is wide and uncluttered, as if you cleared a place inside me just for yourself. It is not the silence of loneliness, but the silence of being met. It is not the pause of despair, but the pause of expectancy. Here in this quiet, I begin to sense you more clearly, like a whisper I could not hear when I was drowning in my own striving. I confess that I once avoided stillness. I filled my days with noise, my heart with distractions, my mind with endless rehearsals of pain. Stillness felt threatening, as if it would expose the emptiness I feared. But now I see it as not emptiness, it is fullness disguised. It is where you dwell most deeply. It is where I learn that I am not defined by motion, but by being. That my worth is not measured in effort, but in belonging. Teach me to stay in this stillness, Father, without rushing away. Teach me to breathe without reaching for the next thing. Teach me to sit in the quiet without demanding answers. Let me discover that waiting is not wasted, that silence is not punishment, that surrender is not the end, but the beginning of a gentler rhythm. Help me to find in stillness what I could never find in striving, rest for my soul, strength for my spirit, calm for my mind. It is here, Father, that I notice the subtler gifts, the way peace settles like dew, the way clarity rises slowly like dawn, the way hope flickers even in the shadows. Stillness does not erase the storms, but it keeps them from owning me. It reminds me that even in chaos, there is a center that cannot be shaken. And that center is you, I no longer have to force solutions or demand explanations. In the stillness after surrender, I can trust that you are already at work. Father, I want to carry this stillness into my day, not as a pause I leave behind, but as a presence I bring with me. Let my words come slower, seasoned with grace. Let my steps be steadier, rooted in peace. Let my choices flow not from panic, but from patience. When others hurry, let me remember that rushing is not my calling. When fear pushes, let me remember that trust is stronger than urgency. Let stillness shape me into someone who carries calm wherever I go. I know the world values noise, but I choose your quiet. I know the world prizes speed, but I choose your pace. I know the world demands answers, but I choose your presence. Let my life reflect not constant striving, but steady surrender. Let the stillness within me become a testimony that I am held, guided, and kept by a love greater than all the noise around me. Father, if I forget and return to old habits of clinging and controlling, bring me back to this quiet place. Remind me that stillness is not failure, but faith. Remind me that surrender is not giving up, but giving in to your arms, to your timing, to your care. Let me remember that stillness is not empty. It is full of you, and in that fullness, I lack nothing. So here I sit, Father, in the quiet after surrender, not rushing to the next task, not rehearsing the next worry, not clinging to the last pain, just being, just breathing, just belonging. And in this belonging, I find the life I was always searching for. This is the gift of stillness, and I choose to stay here with you. Father, as I linger in the stillness that followed surrender, my heart becomes more aware of another gift, grace. Not the loud kind that arrives with spectacle, but the gentle strength that holds me steady when I cannot hold myself. Stillness prepared the space for it, and now grace fills that space with quiet power. I realize that without grace, surrender would feel like emptiness. With grace, surrender becomes restoration. Your grace does not push or demand. It does not shout over my weakness. It waits. It lifts. It restores with gentleness. Grace feels soft, yet it is stronger than anything I know. It meets me not when I am performing well, but when I am faltering. It does not arrive when I deserve it, but when I cannot earn it. And that is why it humbles me, Father, because it asks me to receive without paying, to accept without proving, to rest without earning. Grace is the language you speak most fluently, and I am still learning how to listen. I used to think strength meant never bending, never admitting my need, never falling. But grace shows me that strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the presence of your love within it. It is what allows me to rise after I fall. It is what carries me when I cannot walk. It is what speaks over me when shame tries to silence me. Grace is not fragile, it is fierce in its tenderness, unwavering in its mercy, unrelenting in its pursuit. Father, help me to lean into this gentle strength. Teach me not to despise the moments when I am weak, because those are the very moments when grace shines brightest. Teach me to stop hiding my failures as if they disqualify me, Teach me to trust that grace does not erase truth, but transforms it. What was broken becomes whole. What was wasted becomes redeemed. What was lost becomes found again. Grace reminds me that my story is not defined by the chapters of failure, but by the thread of your faithfulness running through them. It takes the ashes of what I regret and reshapes them into something I could not have imagined. It is not sentimental, it is transformational. It does not excuse sin, but it heals shame. It does not deny weakness, but it strengthens the soul. It does not erase the past, but it writes new beginnings in the middle of it. I want to live today as someone who has received grace. Father, let my words carry gentleness instead of judgment. Let my actions carry compassion instead of pride. Let my presence bring comfort instead of pressure. If I have been forgiven much, then let me forgive freely. If I have been carried far, then let me carry others with tenderness. Grace received must become grace given, or it is not fully understood. The strength of grace is gentle, but it is not passive. It moves mountains in the heart. It calms storms in the mind. It loosens chains in the spirit. It breaks cycles of fear and shame. It builds bridges where walls once stood. This is the strength I long for, not the strength that dominates, but the strength that heals. Not the strength that demands, but the strength that restores. Not the strength that boasts, but the strength that blesses. Father, let me notice grace in the little things today, in the smile of a stranger, in the patience of a friend, in the sunrise that greets me without asking what I did to deserve it, in the breath I take without earning it. Grace is woven into every detail, if only I pause long enough to see it. Do not let me miss it in my hurry. Do not let me overlook it in my pride. Keep my eyes soft enough to see, my heart open enough to receive, my hands gentle enough to give. If I stumble today, remind me not of condemnation, but of grace. If I succeed today, remind me that it is grace that made it possible. If I face something too heavy, remind me that grace is already carrying it with me. Let me measure my life not by what I achieve, but by how I receive. Not by what I hold tightly, but by what I allow grace to transform within me. So here I stand, Father, in the gentle strength of grace, not striving, but receiving, not demanding, but trusting, not fearful, but free. Let this grace not only flow to me, but through me, so that others may know its strength as well. This is the gift I want to live out today, the quiet, unshakable, gentle strength of grace. Father, after resting in the gentle strength of grace, I sense you leading me toward the next step, rebuilding. Grace does not leave me where it found me. It steadies me, then calls me to rise. I see now that healing is not just about letting go. It is also about being remade. And the rebuilding you do is not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You do not begin with appearances, but with the heart. You do not fix the surface first, but the foundation. You restore me not to who I was before, but to who I was always meant to be. Father, I confess that I often chase quick repairs. I want visible progress, something I can measure and show. But you are not interested in patching what is cracked. You want to build something new, something whole, something unshakable. And for that, you start within me. You begin with truth, planting it deep in the places where lies once grew. You begin with love, healing the roots where fear once lived. You begin with peace, calming the storms that once defined me. This rebuilding is slow, but it is real. It is steady. It is sacred. I admit it feels vulnerable to be rebuilt, to let you dismantle what I once thought was strong, to allow you to remove walls I built for protection, to watch you tear down structures that looked impressive but could not stand. Yet even in this, there is safety, because you are not careless. You rebuild with wisdom. You rebuild with patience. You rebuild with vision I cannot always see. You rebuild me as a dwelling place for your spirit, strong enough to withstand storms, soft enough to hold love. Father, help me not to resist this process. When it feels like loss, remind me it is preparation. When it feels like breaking, remind me it is building. When it feels uncertain, remind me that your hands know what they are shaping. Teach me to stay on the workbench of your love, even when it feels uncomfortable. Teach me to trust that every piece you remove, you replace with something better. Teach me to see that rebuilding is not punishment, but promise. I long for the day when my life reflects the wholeness you are creating in me, a wholeness not based on perfection, but on presence, a strength not built on pride, but on dependence, a beauty not measured by the world, but by your design. Rebuilding from the inside out means I may not always look impressive, but I will be unshakable where it matters most. My roots will go deep into your love. My heart will rest steady in your truth. My mind will be renewed by your peace. Father, let me cooperate with your work today. Let me yield to the chiseling of your hand, the shaping of your will, the mending of your spirit. Let me not cling to old ruins, but trust the new creation you are forming. Let me not despair when progress feels slow, but rejoice that you are not finished. Let me not measure by what is seen, but by what is being formed within. Rebuilding is holy work, and I want to walk through it with faith. So today I give you my unfinished walls, my broken beams, my weary foundation. I give you the places I tried to fix myself and failed. I give you the structures I built out of fear, the masks I wore out of pride, the defenses I clung to out of pain. Tear down what cannot stand, and build what will last. Shape me into a living temple where your presence dwells. Make me strong not by my will, but by your spirit. Make me whole not by perfection, but by love. And when others see me, Father, let them see not someone flawless, but someone rebuilt, not someone unscared, but someone redeemed, not someone who never fell, but someone who was lifted. Let the story of my life speak not of my effort, but of your grace. Let the rebuilding you are doing within me become a testimony of hope for those who feel too broken to begin again. This is my prayer today, to be rebuilt from the inside out, to let go of quick fixes and trust the deeper work, to open myself to your process, however long it takes, to believe that what you are making is stronger, truer, more beautiful than what I could imagine. To know that I am not ruined, I am remade, and to walk forward in the quiet confidence that the one who rebuilds me will never abandon the work of his hands. Father, after asking you to rebuild me from the inside out, I now face the weight of a mystery. I cannot escape the moments when you feel silent. Rebuilding requires trust, but silence tests that trust in ways I did not expect. It is one thing to be shaped by your hand, another to wonder if your hand is still there. Father, I confess that silence unsettles me. I long for clear words, for visible signs, for unmistakable proof. Yet often what I hear instead is quiet, and in that quiet, my fears grow louder. I remember times when I prayed with passion and received answers I could see, and I remember other times when I prayed with the same urgency and was met with silence. In those moments, doubt whispers, "Did you hear me? Did I miss something? Am I alone?" Yet even in the silence, something deeper stirs, as if you are teaching me to listen in new ways. Perhaps silence is not absence, but invitation. Perhaps it is not neglect, but nurture. Perhaps it is not distance, but depth. Father, help me to see that your silence is not a void, but a canvas. It is the space where faith is painted, where trust is tested, where love is proven real. Anyone can trust when the answers are immediate, but true faith is born in the waiting, when nothing feels certain, and yet I choose to believe you are near. Silence is not the end of conversation. It is part of it. It is the pause that makes the words more meaningful when they come. Still, I admit it is hard. My heart grows restless. My mind fills the quiet with worries. My soul aches for reassurance. In these moments, remind me of the times when silence was followed by revelation. Remind me that even when Jesus hung on the cross and felt forsaken, your plan was not absent. Remind me that the grave was silent too, but resurrection was already on its way. What looks like silence may actually be the preparation for something greater than I can yet see. Teach me to sit in the silence without running from it. Teach me to trust that even when I cannot hear, you are still speaking through creation, through memory, through peace that surpasses understanding. Teach me to value stillness not as punishment, but as presence disguised. Help me to lean into the quiet with expectation instead of fear, with patience instead of panic, with hope instead of despair. Father, let this silence become sacred ground. Let it shape me into someone who does not need constant reassurance, but who rests in constant relationship. Let it deepen my faith beyond feelings, anchoring me in truth that does not shift. Let it teach me that love is steady even when unspoken, and that trust is strongest when it survives the quiet. So today, if you choose to be silent, let me not mistake it for abandonment. Let me hold on to the memory of your past faithfulness. Let me cling to the promises that do not expire. Let me remember that silence is often the soil where roots grow deepest. Let me walk through the quiet not with dread, but with dignity, knowing that unseen does not mean absent. Unheard does not mean ignored. Unanswered does not mean unloved. Father, I choose to believe that even in silence, you are near. Even in quiet, you are kind. Even in stillness, you are strong. And even when I cannot hear your voice, I can still trust your heart. This is the mystery of faith, and today I choose to live inside it not with fear, but with surrender, not with panic, but with peace, not with despair, but with hope. For even in silence, you are still my Father, and I am still your child. Father, this morning I come before you with a heart that longs not for something new, but for the sacred weight of what has already been. In the hush of this quiet dawn, when all things seem to pause before they move again, I sense you drawing me back not to relive the past, but to remember it rightly. Yesterday's grace is not gone. It has become part of who I am. And now, you invite me to remember, not to stay there, but to be healed and carried forward by the power of your faithfulness. The stillness that followed my wrestling in the dark has become a fertile ground. The silence that once unnerved me now whispers stories of where you have been with me. Each breath carries a trace of all you have done. You are not only the God of now, but the God of all my yesterdays, the moments I survived, the storms I endured, and the quiet mercies that found me even when I was not looking. I remember, Father, how you held me when no one else knew I was breaking. It is easy to forget when life moves fast. Wounds distract me. Worries shout louder. But memory, when guided by your Spirit, becomes an altar, a place where return to give thanks and gather strength. When I remember the kindness that found me in the dark, the provision that arrived just in time, the peace that made no sense, I remember who you are. And when I remember who you are, I begin to remember who I am, too, not what fear says I am, or failure, or shame, but what you have always called me. Beloved, let this remembering be more than nostalgia. Let it be awakening. I do not want to live disconnected from the history of our journey together. I do not want to reduce you to today's need when I have tasted yesterday's abundance. You have met me on mountaintops and in the deepest pits. When I had nothing, you gave me just enough. When I was drowning in doubt, you became the steady ground beneath my feet. When I felt abandoned, you were there all along, working in silence, weaving redemption from ruins. Some memories hurt. They still sting when I touch them, but even there, you are present. You do not erase the past. You enter it. You redeem it. You do not ask me to pretend it did not happen. You ask me to remember it in the light of who you are. That is how scars become testimonies. That is how brokenness becomes beauty. Help me not to run from the chapters that ache, but to let you reframe them with grace. Let me see not just what happened, but what you were doing in the shadows. Sometimes I forget how far you have carried me. I measure my worth by today's progress or lack thereof, as if the past no longer matters. But you are not done writing the story, and the pages behind me matter as much as the ones ahead. Remind me of the prayers you have already answered, the promises you have already kept, the doors you have already opened, and the chains you have already broken. These are not small things. These are stones of remembrance, and they steady my trembling faith. In remembering, I find strength. I recall that the mountain I face today is not the first. And if you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. Let memory become a rhythm of trust that drowns out fear. Let me speak out loud the things I have seen you do. Let my own story preach back to me when I forget. You have never left me. You have never failed me. And though I may not understand this moment, I do not walk into it empty-handed. I carry every moment you have carried me. There are parts of my life I would rather forget, pieces I have buried in shame or regret. But if you can use even those, then help me uncover them with courage, heal what still aches. Show me where grace was moving even in the pain. Help me remember rightly, not as a prisoner of the past, but as a witness of redemption. There is no moment so broken you cannot reclaim it, no season so lost you cannot use it. Let memory be a map not to take me back, but to show me how far we have come. I remember the laughter, the tears, the ordinary miracles. I remember the prayers whispered into pillows, and the answers that came like morning light. I remember the people you sent, the words that saved me, the quiet presence that never left. I remember the times I almost gave up, and how somehow I did not, because of you. Always because of you. Let me carry these memories into today as armor and song, as compass and courage. Let me walk into the unknown anchored in what I already know. Your faithfulness is not a memory. It is a movement. It flows from the past into the present and prepares the way for what is to come. I do not have to see tomorrow to believe in it. I only have to remember yesterday. And so today, I will let remembrance become praise. I will speak gratitude over what has been, so I may trust what is unfolding. I will not be ruled by fear of the future when I have seen the evidence of your goodness behind me. I will not live like I am alone when I have known your hand on every page. You are not just the God of my deliverance. You are the God of every detail I thought was forgotten. You were there in the waiting, in the wandering, in the silence. And you are here now, calling me not to forget, but to remember so I can walk forward with faith. Memory is not a trap. It is a path. And on this path, I walk with you, hand in hand. Heart awake, eyes open to the echoes of grace that still resound within me. Let me remember well, so I may live fully. Let the past not be a weight, but a wind at my back. Let every memory of your mercy become a reason to trust again. Let this day begin, not with worry, but with wonder, because I remember. Yesterday, I came to you with hands full of the things that have weighed me down. Today, I return not because I failed to let go, but because I am learning that surrender is not a one-time release. It is a daily posture, a breath-by-breath decision to trust you more than my pain. Some parts of me still resist loosening. Some stories still feel too heavy to drop all at once. But this morning, I come again not with shame, but with honesty. You know this about me, Father. You know that I tend to revisit what I have laid down, picking it up again when fear creeps in, or when the silence of healing feels too foreign. Letting go is not neat, it is not simple, and yet you remain patient. You are not standing with arms crossed, waiting for me to finally be strong enough. You are kneeling beside me, reminding me that strength looks like softness when it is surrendered into your hands. this morning. My heart aches not just from the original pain, but from the grip I have kept on it. I realize now that part of my suffering comes from how tightly I have held on to things were never mine to fix, the apology I never received, the outcome I could not control, the closure that never came. These pieces echo like unanswered questions, and I have tried so hard to make sense of them. But today I am beginning to see that maybe peace does not come through understanding. Maybe it comes through release. Father, teach me how to let go without bitterness. Help me release not just the pain, but the interpretation I have assigned to it. I do not want to define my worth by the way someone else treated me. I do not want to measure my story by what broke me. I want to see myself the way you do, beloved, whole and healing. So I give you the memories that still sting when they surface, the words spoken in anger that replay in the back of my mind, the moments when I felt invisible, forgotten, or dismissed. And perhaps hardest of all, I give you the parts of myself that have been shaped by those experiences, the parts that flinch when kindness comes, the parts that prepare for disappointment before hope has a chance to breathe, the parts that question love because they have only known conditions. I offer them not because they are healed, but because they are real. And you have never asked for perfection, only presence. You have never demanded that I come cleaned up, only that I come open. And this is what openness looks like: raw, trembling, but willing. Help me walk lighter today, Father, not because all is resolved, but because you are holding what I have released. Remind me that forgiveness is not forgetting, but choosing not to be controlled. That moving forward does not mean erasing the past, but reclaiming the present. That peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of you in the midst of it. Let this be the morning where I see my scars not as shameful, but as sacred. They speak of survival, of grace in the wreckage, of a love that did not abandon me when I was unraveling. You stayed through it all. You stayed, and that is the anchor I cling to when the waves of memory try to pull me back. I want to learn how to live again, without bracing for the worst. I want to laugh without guilt. I want to rest without the tension of waiting for something to go wrong. I want to love without needing proof. And I know this begins not with changing the world around me, but with releasing the grip inside me. Today, Father, I will choose to breathe when the memory returns. I will choose to bless instead of curse. I will choose silence instead of defense. I will choose compassion instead of control. And when I cannot choose these things in my own strength, I will pause and ask you to help me try again. Let this letting go not be an ending, but an unfolding, an invitation into new joy, new softness, new capacity to receive. I want to make room not just to be emptied of hurt, but to be filled with light. Soften my clenched hands. Calm the fearful rhythm of my thoughts. Slow the reflex to retreat. Let me notice when the sun touches the window, when a breeze carries quiet comfort, when the ordinary becomes sacred again. These are signs that I am healing, even if I still ache. Father, Yesterday I stood in the quiet aftermath of release. My hands, once clenched, now rest more freely. Not everything is healed. Not everything is clear. But something within me has shifted. There is a hush in the spaces where noise used to dwell. And in this stillness, I do not feel absence. I feel you. Letting go created room I did not know I needed. Today, I am not rushing to fill it. I am simply here. Waiting, not for answers, but for your presence to settle deeper. It is uncomfortable at times to be still when the world spins quickly. But I am slowly understanding that movement is not always progress. That stillness is not passivity. Sometimes it is the most courageous choice. Father, it surprises me how silence can be its own form of healing. Not the silence of distance or neglect, but the kind that wraps around me like a blanket after a storm. The kind that speaks without words, that holds me without demand. You are in that stillness. You do not push. You invite. And I am learning to listen. There are no demands this morning, no urgent questions, no spirals of worry I need you to untangle. Just a soft yes from within, a yes to being here, a yes to allowing what is, a yes to believing that you are doing something in me, even when I can't articulate it. Sometimes, Father, I wonder why peace feels so unfamiliar, why it takes effort to rest in your grace. Maybe I've grown too used to striving, to proving, to earning affection that was never meant to be conditional. And now you are asking me to just be, to sit at your feet, to trust that I am enough not because of what I do, but because I am yours. I feel you inviting me to linger longer in this place, not to rush toward purpose or productivity, but to simply be a person before you, a soul, a heart, a child. And in that, there is a softness returning to me, like dew gathering again on hardened ground, like light slowly finding its way through closed blinds. I do not know what comes next, and for once, I am not desperate to find out. I am not clawing for certainty or constructing scenarios to soothe my fears. I am allowing this quiet to do its work. Maybe it is preparing me. Maybe it is healing something too deep for words. Or maybe it is just a gift, the kind you give for no other reason than love. Father, I have prayed bold prayers. I have cried out in anguish. I have whispered dreams and shouted disappointments. But today, my prayer is this: help me stay here. Help me not abandon the stillness just because it feels unfamiliar. Help me remember that presence is power, even when there are no signs, no fireworks, no sudden breakthroughs. I am beginning to notice small things again. The way light spills across the floor, the sound of breath in quiet rooms, the way my chest rises and falls when I stop holding everything in. These are signs of life returning. Not dramatic, not loud, but real. And they are teaching me that resurrection often begins in hidden places. Father, I thank you for not rushing me through this, for not demanding performance, for being patient with my halting steps and even my stillness. I thank you for being the God who stays, who sits with me in silence and calls it sacred, who sees my waiting as worship and my quiet as courage. I do not have tidy conclusions today. just a heart that is opening, just a soul that is learning how to be unhurried in your presence, just a body that is breathing a little easier because I no longer carry everything alone. Let this stillness be the soil where trust grows. Let it be the gentle place where wounds begin to close. Let it be the ground where new dreams take root, not the ones formed in fear or striving, but the ones whispered by you in the quiet of dawn. Father, you are here, and that is enough. I will not rush past this moment. I will let it shape me. I will let it mark me. I will let it teach me how to be present in a world that constantly urges me to move on. So here I am, Father, unfinished, unhurried, and undone in the best way. I do not seek to escape this quiet, but to embrace it. I want to be fully awake to this moment, not because it holds all the answers, but because it holds you. You are not asking me to have it all together. You are simply inviting me to be with you. And so I lay down my lists, my timelines, my attempts to control. I open my hands. I unclench my spirit. I breathe deep into this stillness and say yes again. Yes to the not knowing. Yes to the slow healing. Yes to the gentle grace that meets me here. Let this morning mark me, not with grand revelation, but with quiet resolve. A resolve to trust even when I can see, to stay even when it feels unfamiliar. To believe that something sacred is happening here, beneath the surface, beyond the noise. You are not far. You have never been, even when the silence felt empty. It was always filled with you. Now I know, now I see. And as the light of morning rises slowly beyond the horizon, as the air begins to stir with new breath, I will carry this stillness with me, not as an escape, but as an anchor, not as a pause, but as a path, a way of being with you in every place, in every hour, in every unknown yet to come. Father, this morning, I awaken once again with a fragile heart and an open spirit, still echoing with the quiet questions from yesterday. As I step into this day, I feel the soft pulse of grace that continues to call me home, not to a place, but to a way of being, a way of breathing, noticing, and trusting. The silence you held me in yesterday was not void, but full a different kind of fullness. A space where I could lean without pressure, speak without performance, and rest without apology. Today, Father, I sense that same presence urging me to return to what is truest and most steady, not the chaos around me, but the heartbeat of grace within me. There is a gentle rhythm to your love that I so often ignore. The world pulls me to keep pace with noise, speed, and expectations. But your rhythm, God, it is not hurried. It is not harsh. It does not compete. It waits. It remains. It draws me back again and again. When I have wandered far, even in my own mind, and so I come, slowly, deliberately, to sit again with you in the soft center of the morning. You remind me that grace is not an achievement. It is not something I earn with good behavior or lose with a bad decision. It is the current underneath my striving, the anchor in my storm, the whisper beneath my shouts. And when I forget this, when I make my worth depend on my doing, I become exhausted not just in body, but in soul. I run without breath, speak without meaning, and love without depth. But when I return to grace, I remember who I am beyond titles, tasks, and timelines. I remember that I am yours. Help me live from that place today. Help me walk slowly enough to notice when I am pushing instead of receiving, proving instead of trusting. If I find myself becoming brittle, sharp, or cynical, let that be my signal not of failure, but of forgetfulness. Let it nudge me back, not to shame, but to stillness. Help me make space, even in crowded hours, to return to the quiet knowing that you are not evaluating me, you are holding me. In a world that tells me to earn my way, help me practice grace by giving it first to myself, not as indulgence, but as restoration. Let me speak gently to my own heart today, especially in the places where I feel behind, broken, or not enough. Let me lay down the armor I wear when I fear I won't measure up, and instead clothe myself in compassion. Because grace, when truly received, does not make me lazy, it makes me brave. Father, I ask for the courage to extend this grace outward as well, not just in grand gestures, but in the invisible ones in the tone of my voice, in the way I pause before responding, in the silent forgiveness I offer to someone who never apologized. Let my life today be evidence of a grace that is real and rooted, not flashy but faithful, a grace that makes space for others to return to, breathe, to be, to belong. Sometimes it feels risky to lead with grace. It feels like I am giving up control, like I am choosing weakness. But the truth you keep showing me is that grace is the strongest thing of all. It is what healed my deepest wounds. It is what softened my hard edges. It is what brought me back when I did not deserve it. And if it is strong enough for my mess, it is strong enough for theirs too. So I choose it again this morning, not just as a concept, but as a compass. Let it direct my responses, shape my posture, and steady my soul. I do not have to have the answers today. I do not need to perform peace or pretend joy. I just need to return, again and again, to the place where you wait with no lecture. Only love. Thank you, Father, for being the kind of God who never rolls his eyes at my return, never holds my distance against me, never makes me feel like I should be known better. You are not a scorekeeper, you are a rest giver, and that changes everything. So let my breathing slow, let my spirit remember. Let this day not be marked by my perfection, but by my presence, by my willingness to return to grace, even if it takes 1,000 tries, because each time I do, I find you there, not disappointed but delighted, not waiting to scold, but waiting to soothe. And in that kind of welcome, my soul begins to rise again. Keep me close today, Father, not just in moments of crisis, but in the ordinary ones too. The moments when I forget why I walked into a room. The moments when I am caught in traffic or waiting in line or staring at a screen with too many tabs open. Be in all of it. Be the breath between my distractions. Be the hand that gently redirects me when I have drifted from grace again. And tonight, when I lay my head down, let it be with no list of what I did not do or how I failed to measure up. Let it be with the quiet certainty that I returned, and that return was enough. Father, you see me this morning, standing on the fragile edge between what was and what could be. As the silence of yesterday lingers faintly behind me, I step into today asking not for clarity, but for courage. The kind of courage that does not wait for the storm to pass or the wounds to fully heal, but chooses to begin again with trembling hands and a soft, uncertain yes. I have carried pieces of old chapters, some beautiful, some broken, and yet here I am, longing to write something new, with you holding the pen beside me. There is a quiet fear that always comes when I attempt to start over. It whispers that I have tried before and failed, that healing is a mirage, that change is a myth. But even as those lies echo inside me, there is a deeper truth pressing gently into my soul. The past is not my prison, and grace is never wasted. With every breath, you offer fresh mercy. With every sunrise, you rewrite what I believed was permanent. And this morning, I do not need the whole path, just the next step and the courage to take it. I remember all the times you have met me in my shattered moments, not to rush me past them, but to sit with me, breathe with me, and wait until I was ready. That patience shaped me. It taught me that faith is not about certainty, but surrender. And surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of what I was never meant to carry alone. So today, I surrender again, not to fear, not to regret, but to you who sees farther, deeper, and more gently than I ever could. It is not always dramatic, this kind of new beginning. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when sadness says stay. Sometimes it is smiling at a stranger, or forgiving someone who never asked. Sometimes it is showing up anyway, tired, unsure, but willing. That is the kind of brave I ask for now. The kind that does not need applause or evidence, only presence, only trust. There are still voices in my head that say I am behind, that I have missed too many turns, wasted too much time. But you do not measure me by milestones. You do not grade my life on speed or success. You look at my heart and ask, are you still open? And when I say yes, even weakly, it is enough. Because you have always done more with a flicker than I could do with a flame. You breathe on what remains, and it becomes holy. You touch what is cracked, and it begins to sing. Father, I no longer want to wait for perfect conditions. I have waited long enough. I have postponed joy, postponed peace, thinking they were rewards at the finish line. But I now see they were invitations along the way, invitations to find beauty not after the fixing, but during the unfolding. Even if my story does not look like I thought it would, it is still worth living. It is still being written. And you are still the author. So help me walk forward not in haste, but in hope. Let every ordinary moment today become sacred simply because you are in it. Let me look at the mess and say, even this is loved. Even this can begin again. Let me believe that every ending carries within it a whisper of a new birth. not because I deserve it, but because you delight in renewal, because you never tire of watching your children rise. When the shame of yesterday tries to chain me down, remind me that you already unlocked those cuffs. When despair paints a dark future, remind me that your light still shines, even through closed doors. And when I doubt myself the most, remind me that you do not. You never have. You see who I really am beneath the fear. You see who I am becoming. Thank you for never asking me to be fearless, only to be willing. Thank you for not rushing me through the process. Thank you for standing at the threshold with me. Whispering, we can begin again, whenever you are ready. I hear that whisper now, and though my knees may shake and my voice may tremble, I say yes, again, still, yes. Let this be the morning that something new is planted inside me. Let this be the breath that carries possibility. Let this be the hour when shame loses its grip and grace takes its place. Not because everything is fixed, but because I have decided not to be defined by the broken, because I have chosen, with you, to start again. And in that quiet, sacred decision, I find strength, I find peace, I find home. Father, as I sit here in the quiet of this morning, I carry with me the weight and wonder of yesterday's grace. The echoes of what you have done resound in me like a familiar hymn, reminding me that the journey of faith is not always about charging forward, but sometimes about turning gently to look back. In the stillness of this new day, I feel you nudging me to remember not to dwell, but to anchor. And from the depths of that remembering, I begin to see how far your hand has brought me. There were seasons I thought I would not make it, days when despair sat heavy on my chest and nights when silence screamed louder than any voice. But even then, you were present. You were never absent. Even when I mistook your quietness for distance, I can see it now, in the small mercies that slipped into my life unnoticed. The text I needed at just the right time. The tears that led to release. The stranger smile that melted the hardness I did not know I carried. These are not small things. These are the fingerprints of a faithful God. I remember, Father, how you met me in places I did not expect, behind hospital curtains, beside cold gravestones, within the corners of anxiety-ridden rooms. You did not wait for me to be whole to draw near. You walked with me through every fragmentation, every trembling breath. There is power in remembering this, because it turns sorrow into sacred ground and scars into stories of survival. It changes how I walk today, not as one who is unsure, but as one who knows she has been held. Even the moments I tried to forget hold treasures now. The heartbreaks that once defined me have become doors to deeper compassion. The failures I was ashamed of now teach me to be tender with others. What once felt like the end of me was simply a reintroduction to the God who does his best work in broken things. You never waste pain. And in remembering, I reclaim pieces of myself I thought I had lost. Today, I choose not to race past what you have done, not to treat it as something long gone or irrelevant. Instead, I sit with it. I let it wash over me. I let it soften me. The grace that saved me then still saves me now. And I realize that remembering is not weakness, it is a return to strength. It is the act of planting my feet in truth, so I am not blown away by every storm that passes. Father, I know you do not just want me to remember the pain. You want me to remember the promise. You want me to carry forward the evidence of your faithfulness, like stones from the riverb, like lanterns in the dark, not just for myself, but for those around me who forget. Help me to become a storyteller of your goodness, not out of pride, but out of awe. Let my life echo the grace I have received, not just in words, but in the way I treat others with patience, with listening, with hope. There is something holy about revisiting the places where you met me. They are sacred markers of your covenant, reminders that you are not just the God of beginnings and ends, but the God of middles, the God of in-between spaces where we wonder and wrestle and wait. You met me there, and I know you will meet me again. When the enemy tries to rewrite my story with shame, help me push back with remembrance. When fear tries to predict the future, help me rewrite the script with the evidence of your past faithfulness. When doubt clouds the present, let memory clear the path forward. Remind me, again and again, that what you did before, you can do again. And even if you do it differently, it will still be good. It will still be you. Help me make space for remembrance, even when life urges me to rush. Let me not forget the way you healed that wound, opened that door, lifted that burden, redeemed that mistake. Let me never become so familiar with your mercy that I stop marveling. May remembering stir up gratitude. May it awaken worship. May it birth courage. I do not need every answer to move forward. I just need the reminder that you have never left me. And when I look back with eyes full of grace, I see you everywhere in the timing, in the people, in the quiet whispers of hope. That is the power of remembering. It shifts my heart from fear to faith, from questioning to confidence. It makes me steady in the storm. So I walk into today not trying to predict what is next, but grounded in what has already been. You have been faithful, and you are still faithful. That truth alone is enough to carry me. That memory is enough to sing over my doubt. That assurance is enough to quiet my soul. And even as new challenges arise, I carry with me the testimony of every day you have already carried me. I do not just remember with my mind, I remember with my posture, with my choices, with my trust. I live in a way that says, I have seen his goodness, and I expect it again, because you are not finished with my story. And every chapter I have walked through whispers of the chapters to come, where your grace continues to unfold. Let this be my posture today, to remember not just what you have done, but who you are, to walk not just with memory, but with expectation, and to keep my eyes open for the next glimpse of your hand, knowing it always arrives often quietly, always faithfully. Father, as I breathe into this morning, I sense something sacred stirring, like the hush before a sunrise or the hush after a final note in a song that still lingers in the heart. This moment does not feel like an ending. Even though it arrives at the close of a journey, it feels instead like a doorway quietly opening into something wider, something deeper. The threads of every chapter before now have not unraveled, but rather have woven themselves into a quiet, unseen tapestry one I have wrapped around my shoulders without always knowing it was there. You have walked with me through so many mornings, not just today, but day after day, when the world was still half asleep and my thoughts too scattered to offer anything polished. You received them anyway. You welcomed my rawness, my pauses, my halting steps toward you. And somehow, in those broken offerings, you met me, not because my words were perfect, because your presence always has been. This morning, I do not want to perform. I do not want to summarize or tie things up neatly with a bow. Life rarely gives us such clarity. But I do want to pause long enough to feel the weight of all you have done, not as a burden but as a quiet, steady warmth like sunlight slowly spilling over the horizon. You have taught me that sacredness is not always loud. Sometimes, it is the whisper of wind through trees, the gentle lapping of water at the shore, the softness in a held breath before tears fall. Looking back, I realize how you never rushed me. You never demanded more than I could give. You simply asked me to show up, and you honored every effort. You turned my weary groans into sacred dialogue. You turned silence into listening, and you turned my lonely mornings into sacred appointments with grace. Even when I resisted, when I pressed snooze on both my alarm and my soul, you waited, not with judgment, but with quiet expectancy, because you knew that I would return, not because of obligation, but because of love. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew too. I knew that mornings with you held something no other part of the day could give me, not productivity or control, but presence, the unshakable truth that before I go out into the world, I belong somewhere. I belong to you. Today, I carry that belonging like a compass. I do not need a full map. I do not need answers to every question. I just need that quiet pull toward what is true. And what is true is that you are still here. You are still steady. You are still the one who held me through every unspoken ache and unexpected joy of this season. And you will be there again tomorrow. Not waiting on some mountaintop of perfection, but here in the quiet, in the questions, in the stillness that says, this moment matters. I am learning to hold things loosely now, not because they do not matter, but because you hold me first. I am letting go of needing to fix everything, to earn everything, to explain everything. You have taught me that peace is not always resolution. Sometimes peace is simply your nearness. And sometimes, the most sacred thing I can do is let go and breathe. As I move from this moment into whatever today holds, I do not want to leave this space behind. I want to carry it with me, the texture of stillness, the rhythm of trust, the weight of grace that has softened every corner of my hardened heart. Let this not be the end of a prayer, but the unfolding of a lifestyle. Let every breath become a conversation. Let every step become a response. Let every act of love, every pause for kindness, every choice for hope echo what you have spoken to me in the silence. Father, I thank you for the journey, for the mornings that began in fog and ended in light, for the chapters I did not expect, the words that came when I was dry, the comfort that arrived when I had none to give. Thank you for the transformation that did not come in a flash, but in the gentle erosion of fear, the slow awakening of faith. Thank you for being a God who does not demand a sprint, but invites a daily walk. To those who have walked this path alongside me, reading, praying, sitting in the same silence, I offer my deepest gratitude. You are not alone. You were never alone. And if these prayers have somehow echoed your own longings, may they continue to breathe in you long after the final line is spoken. Let us not measure our growth in grand gestures, but in the smallest yeses, the ones whispered in the dark, the ones no one else sees but heaven celebrates. If you have made it to this moment, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for choosing to sit with your soul, even when it felt easier to distract it. Thank you for opening your hands when they were clenched, for trusting your voice when it trembled, for praying even when the words barely came. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, and you are not done becoming. If these mornings have met you, let them continue to unfold in your life in new ways. Let the quiet strength you have found here carry you into louder rooms. Let the intimacy you have tasted here inform how you love, how you forgive, how you endure. Let the seeds planted in silence bear fruit in your living. I invite you, if you feel led, to share your reflections below. Let others know that they are not walking this road alone. Share your prayers, your pain, your peace. Someone may need the reminder that healing is possible, that hope can be rekindled in unexpected places. Your voice matters. And if these prayers have touched something deep within you, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Share these moments with others, and return each morning to renew your faith. Let it be a rhythm, a habit of grace, a way of anchoring your heart before the noise of the day begins. We may have reached the end of this written journey, but our conversation with the divine continues. Always unfolding, always drawing us closer, always inviting us deeper, just like the hush before dawn, just like the breeze before the sun crests the hill, just like the stream that flows long after the words have stopped. Let your morning begin like that, and let it never truly end.